What's up, everybody? This is Matt with Conservative Trades. Hope everybody's doing all right today. Happy Memorial Day to those of you who are observing that today. It is a U.S. federal holiday, and I should say, in which we honor the men and women who have died while serving in the United States Armed Forces. Okay, and so for those of you who are watching in from different parts of the world and you're scratching your head and wondering why in the world we are taking today off in the stock markets, well, that's why. And so oftentimes, we take this time to not only honor those military personnel who have died while serving in our armed forces, but we use this occasion to get together with friends and family. And there's a lot of people here in America who have friends and family who have served in the military, and we will often and people who have lost friends and family while serving in the military. And it's just a time where the country kind of bands together and for one day put all of our political biases aside. Although I seriously doubt. I think if you were to turn on the news right now, I think you would. I seriously doubt you would find that to actually be happening. Unfortunately, this country is very divided in that regard, and it's not the greatest thing to have to witness on a day-to-day basis. But you would think that this could be one day that people could kind of put their differences aside and come together, and they do. A lot of families do. They come together, they celebrate, they have cookouts and that sort of thing, and and so in light of that, there's kind of two different ways that I wanted to segue into this episode of The Trader's Mind. It is titled Your Motivation Behind Day Trading. And one thing I addressed Friday when I posted the recap for Friday going into this 3-day weekend, one thing that I had referenced is that it's very possible that there were a lot of people who maybe had a bad trading week or a bad trading day, and here we were going into a 3-day holiday, and going into any kind of a 3-day holiday weekend, 4-day holiday weekend, what have you, can be difficult if you had a particularly bad trading week or a particularly bad trading day, right as you're entering into it. And so I think there's a lot that can be discussed there, and a lot of things that would be beneficial for trader psychology. And there are several reasons for this. First of all, when you have to face your family, and maybe some of you don't have a lot of family. Maybe it's just kind of more facing your friends. Maybe you're going and you're going to have cookouts with your friends. But whether you're having cookout with friends or family, or people are getting together and they're going to be celebrating or coming together to observe Memorial Day, which a lot of families do, like I said, particularly here in America, it can be difficult. It can be difficult having to face them, okay? And, they're going to ask you about it. How's trading going? That's assuming that they know that you're day trading, and maybe they don't. But when they do know, they have a tendency to ask you about it. And, of course, you got to tell them how it's going, and that can be a little frustrating sometimes. And trust me, listen, I've been there. I can remember very specific holidays. As a matter of fact, both Thanksgiving and Christmas of 2018, I was not doing well as a trader. Okay, and I remember, having to face family during that time, and I knew they were going to ask me about it because everybody knew that I was day trading. I was open about it, and I knew I was going to get together with a bunch of family, and and it's already bad enough. You already feel bad enough going into that holiday season with not doing well in the markets, and you lose money, and it doesn't feel good to lose money, but it's even worse, and it's almost kind of salt in the wound when you have to go and face your loved ones, and especially when I'll tell you what, really, I'll say this: there's two sides to this. I was going to say especially when they're cheering for you and they're really believing in you, and you've convinced them, yeah, I'm going to do this trading thing, and you're getting together with them, and you kind of have to hang your head low a little and just kind of give them the bad news, and and then of course then they're going to try to maybe encourage you, and it's just going to be stuff you're not going to want to hear. But the other side of that is it could also be especially painful salt in the wound, so to speak, if they are family members who are kind of going to be like, I told you so. Because there's a lot of people out there that do not understand day trading. and they think it's gambling. They don't think that you can do well with it. They don't really even understand the concept of the stock market, but they just, they have a really poor outlook on it, and they just know that you're going to fail. They know there's a huge failure rate. Maybe they even know somebody. Yeah, I used to know somebody who, day traded, man. They lost all their money. You're going to lose all your money too. Like maybe it's one of those types of things. And so that can be especially frustrating when you have to face family members who don't even believe that you can be successful at this, from the start. So I really think that I think this is critical because I think that this can be the very thing that can help us as day traders. I think it can be the very thing that can kind of psych us out a little and make us a little impatient. And I think it's the very thing that can destroy our trading careers. But I also think, like I said firstly here, that it could be the very thing that could help drive our success. And that's what I want to talk about today. I think this is so critical. And I think that from a psychological standpoint, it can greatly impact you. And I think from a psychological standpoint, it would be good to self-reflect and try to gain an understanding of which side of this you sit on. Are you going to be sitting on the side of this where it's going to make you so nervous and so frustrated that you're going to get impatient with your trades, and then that when the next trading day comes, you're going to go in, you're going to try even harder and just, kind of mess yourself up, wreck yourself? Are you going to wreck yourself over these feelings and emotions and all of these thoughts that start entering your mind as you're facing family members who, are just kind of pointing the finger and saying, I told you so, and, you better get out of it now, man. And, are you going to feel so much that you have something to prove to them that you're just going to end up wrecking yourself? Or are you sitting on the side of things where you're going to take this and use it as motivation? One thing that I like to often remind myself of, and I think I'll remind you, the listener, of, is I don't think your motivation is money, or I don't think it should be money. Okay? Now, yes, when we have losing days, it doesn't feel good, right? It doesn't feel good, and it's like, man, I lost all this money, but at the end of the day, it really isn't, for most of us anyway, it isn't about the money. Okay, and so what you need to do is you need to reflect and you need to say to yourself, okay, well, what is it about? Now, some of you listening to me right now might be thinking, what are you talking about, man? This is totally about the money. Okay, all right, fine. But I would challenge you on that a little, and just follow me here for a second, okay? Because I have a feeling it's way more than the money. I think for a lot of us, it is financial freedom, which, yes, is obtained through money, of course, but it's more so the fact that the money is the means to an end. And what is that end? What is that end for you? For me, and mind you, I will admit, I do have another job. I work from home, granted, but for another company, and so day trading for me is a supplemental type of thing. It's not something that I really am relying on to bring in a full-time income, as I have another income from this company that I work for remotely from home. And so would I aspire to maybe one day be able to do just this? Yeah, maybe. And I mean, I'll tell you what, for the company that I work for and the work that I do here from home every day, I very much enjoy. And it may be something that I would continue to do for maybe the next 10, 15 years, who knows? But if I was doing really, really, really well with day trading, would I just do that full time? Maybe. It's part of the goal, at least to have the option, to be able to just do this. I also, again, I want to supplement my income because, even though I have another job here, this other company that I work for, I'm contracted out. So, sometimes the work isn't coming in, and sometimes I do. It is really good to have this extra money coming in for day trading so that it can keep me here on the home front. And maybe that's how it is for a lot of you. Maybe you want to be on the home front. Maybe you want to be more involved with your kids' lives. Maybe you want to be able to even bring in enough of an income to where your wife doesn't have to work, for those of you who are married. Maybe it's just that you want to be able to work for yourself, and you don't want to have to work for somebody else and having a boss telling you what to do all day, okay? Maybe for some of you, it just is truly a passion and you thoroughly enjoy it, and you enjoy it so much that you want to make a career out of it. Because we all aspire to have careers that where we can take a passion of ours and actually make it a career. So that's why I say I don't think that the money really should be the motivation. I think it should be a lot of sitting down and reflecting and thinking about what's the end. Okay? Knowing that money is the means to the end. What is the actual end? What is my actual motivation? And that's what you should be fighting for. But not only that, I also would use having to face friends and family. Look, whether they're people who think I'm going to fail or they're people who actually believe in me. There is a part of me that feels like I should live in a way that doesn't care too much about what other people think. I think there's sense in that. I think there's wisdom in that. You don't want to let the weight of other people's opinions wear you down in what you're trying to do. You want to be able to stay focused. You want to be able to keep your eyes on the prize, keep your eyes on that finish line, and keep, like a racer running a race, or a runner, I should say, running a race. Keep your eyes on the end goal. And don't worry about what the crowd around, if the crowds in the stands are like, cussing at you and hoping that you lose or get tripped up on the racetrack down there on the, whatever, or if you've got friends and family and they're cheering you on. You want to keep your eyes on the prize. You want to focus on your body. You want to focus on your breathing. You want to focus on how you're moving. So to a degree, I don't think we should let the weight of other people's opinions get too much in the way. But at the same time, I think there is a way to use it as a little bit of fuel to keep you going. Again, if you're a runner running a race around a track, and you just so happen, through all of the shouting of the crowd, maybe your eyes just slightly glance over into the bleachers and you see your family there and they're all jumping up and cheering for you. Obviously that's going to give you some kind of energy, and if there's some loudmouth heckler out in the crowd who's just who's just yelling at you saying, you better not trip, your shoes are untied, or what, whatever. If somebody's giving you a problem, you might even could use that heckler as a little motivation, to say, I'll show you anyway. You don't bother me. You don't bother me, and you're not going to trip me up. I'm going to hold my footing, and I'm going to keep pushing towards that. So I think there's a healthy balance in that. I think finding that balance is key. And not letting yourself get to the point to where, like I said, it becomes all about their opinions. But maybe just learning how to find that balance of, how much can you use of that to be your motivation. And so I think that's what I want this episode to be about. And I would say, but if you feel like you have gone this weekend now, and again, a lot of you who are watching from different parts of the world, it's going to be hard for you to relate to this particular occasion with Memorial Day here in the United States. But I'm sure you guys also know what that's like. I'm sure everybody all around the world, there are holidays, there are times that come where the market's going to close, and you are going to be facing friends or family or both, and they're going to ask you about day trading. And how can you, number one, how can you approach that weekend holding your head high, even despite the fact that, yeah, you had a bad week, okay, you had a bad day, whatever, you didn't end on a good note. How can you face them while still holding your head high? And how can you lightly use it as motivation going into the next week, and make sure that it's not going to be in a way that's going to wreck you and destroy you? And I think there's a few things that you can do in those situations, and I'll tell you what I've had to do in those situations. Now, I will say this: fortunately for me, I actually had a really good week last week. It's the best week that I've actually had in a while, and I did not have to go into this 3-day weekend feeling this way. And honestly, it's been quite a while since I've had to go into a holiday feeling bad about my trading. And so that's kind of the first thing that I'll say to a lot of you who are listening to this right now, is that it's not always going to be this way. Okay, I know you may feel like a wreck, like a train wreck right now. I know you may be kicking yourself and you may be down, but if you're willing to work hard at this and stay committed to this, and if you're willing to stay in it long enough, and as long as you're willing to maintain a level of discipline, remain calm, remain patient, and continue to move forward, and stay focused. These days are going to be far behind you one day. Okay? You're not always going to feel like this. So first and foremost, let me just say that. But secondly, remind yourself what you're doing this for. Are you doing this because you want to be your own boss? Are you doing it because you want to get it to where your wife doesn't have to work? Do you want to be on the home front more? Do you want to be more involved in your kids' lives? Some of you might be doing this because you want to help give more to your community. You want more money to come in just so that you can give more. There's some causes out there that you want to give to, maybe even family members or neighbors or friends that you know who need help, and you want to be able to be a financial support to them as they go through whatever it is that they're going through. Whatever your motivation is, write it down and stick it on top of your trading station, or write it down on a piece of paper and just read it tomorrow morning before you come back into the markets. Okay? And maybe the motivation is as simple as you don't want to feel this way again. And this is kind of a point that, as far as going on a 3-day weekend and having to face your family, you don't want to feel this way again. This hurts. This hurts. But let me give you the plus side to this. There's a silver lining in this, and something I talked about a little bit the other day in my trading recap. But this is actually a good feeling. Because as day traders, as retail traders who trade from home, it's not like we trade for one of these big financial institutions. We're not working for some broker on Wall Street. We don't have people watching us to make sure we follow our rules. Okay, that people who can slap us on the wrist and say, look, you need to go into a trading simulator for a week. We're not letting you come out here on the trading floor again until you prove that you're doing all right. You need to get your mind right. We don't have anybody to do that. We don't have anybody to force us to go into a trading simulator, and we don't have anybody to threaten us with being fired. We pay you good here. We don't pay you to make those kinds of mistakes. If you make that mistake again, you're fired. So when you have that kind of accountability that you have to go into every day when you go to work, it makes you think not once, not twice, but probably 3, 4, 5 times before you even take a trade. Okay? Because you don't want to lose your job. Well, as retail traders, we don't have that. We don't have that motivation. And so this right here, this 3-day weekend where some of you may have had to go into this weekend feeling bad because you might have had a bad day or a bad week in trading and you had to face your family, let that be the slap on the wrist that you need. And bring that back with you when you come back to trade the next day. When the markets open up, bring that with you. Bring that in as part of your motivation. And say, you know what? That's the slap on the wrist I needed. And when you come back in and the markets open back up on Tuesday, it's going to be Tuesday because Monday was the day that we got off here. So when you come back in on Tuesday, think to yourself, before you take any trade, think once, not once, not twice, but 3 or more times before taking that trade, and think about what you had to feel this past weekend. Let it work to your advantage. Let it work in your favor. Let it be part of your motivation, along with all those other motivations. That we talked about. This is something that has helped me out, and this is why I'm sharing it with you, because truthfully, I've been there more times than I'd like to admit. Day trading is not easy. This is probably one of the most challenging things that you will ever do in your life. And I will say that as far as a particular career path or a field of work, an industry that you could work in, a job title that you could have, to have the job title of day trader, I mean, I would say that it is probably the most challenging career path that you could take ever. Probably one of the most challenging things in life that you'll do, because life has a lot to offer. There's a lot of challenges in life, and there are probably some other challenges that are way more difficult than day trading. But I think as just talking about in the area of a career, I don't know if there's anything more challenging than day trading. I really don't. I mean, they say opening up a restaurant is pretty difficult. And I know that most restaurants that open within the first year end up closing. It's really hard to make it in the restaurant industry. And they say that in that second year, another 50% of those will close. And they say basically if you can make it past the 5-year mark and your restaurant's doing well, then you're probably going to last. And maybe it's then, that people start kind of, they start breaking out into different chains and stuff. But, other than the restaurant industry, this seems like it is probably the most challenging. I have had my hands in multiple businesses over the years. I haven't had my hands in a restaurant business, but I have had my hands in multiple industries. And I can tell you, this is hands down the most challenging thing I've ever faced. I really genuinely don't know of any other career path that is more challenging than this. And most people don't understand it. Most people are going to continue to look at you like you're crazy. You are going to have friends and family that are kind of rolling their eyes and just waiting for you to fail and move on. Okay. And so it's very difficult. But like I said, let that work for you, not against you. Let it work in your favor. And don't think too much about it. Like I said, like that runner who's running a race, don't think too much about the crowd. Just find that perfect balance. Think about it just enough. Think about the people heckling you and think about the people cheering you on just enough to give you that little bit of extra boost of motivation. But you keep your eyes on the prize, and you keep the finish line in ahead of you, and then you stay focused on what it is that you're supposed to do. You continue to do the research, continue to do the gain knowledge. Get your education in this, continue to stay disciplined, and before you take those trades, think about your motivations. Think about what you're doing this for. Okay? So anyway, this is the latest episode of The Trader's Mind. I tell people often, and those of you who have been following this channel for a long time now, well, I say a long time. I said a long time as though I've been around here for years. I've really only been around for a few months. But for those of you who have been following the channel, you've heard me say enough that day trading really is probably about 20% knowledge, education, practice in a simulator, all that stuff. And the other 80% is hands down trader psychology. It really is getting discipline, finding mental discipline, harnessing mental discipline and emotional control. If you can do that, you should be good. So anyway, to those of you who are new to the channel, I hope you enjoyed this. Hope you'll consider subscribing. And as you can see here on the little image I've got up here on the video, we do live day trading Monday through Friday. I stream live right here on the channel. We begin roughly around 9 a.m. Would love for you to join us. And I also provide daily recaps and additional video tutorials just like this one that you're watching right here. So I hope you guys enjoyed. And if you get a free minute, leave me a comment in the comment section below. Let me know if this video spoke to you and if there were things in particular that you could really relate to and really identify with. I'm looking forward to getting back started with a new trading week. Hope that you guys are as well. And take care.